Hey guys, this is Josh from Sandbox for Kids coming to you with another Unity 3D tutorial. So now for this, we're actually going to continue off of our last project that we made in our last video using this whole scene, and I deleted the environment picture that we had in there out of here. So we're going to go into even more detail, and we're going to create a sky for it and some weather system type stuff, like a particle system for snow, fog, and stuff like that. And we're going to play around with some settings. So yeah, so first of all, we're gonna import Unity's FPS controller so that we can walk around and take a look at our scene from the point of view of a first person, or from the first person point of view. So go down to characters, import this, and so we're going to, so yeah, Unity has this ready-made first-person controller for us. So I'm going to uncheck this. We don't need all of it, so we're just going to check first-person controller, not the roller ball. We don't want that. Not the third-person controller. We need the cross-platform input for it to compile. We need the editor. We don't need the physics materials. We need the utility scripts for it to compile too. So we're going to import all of that. It's going to import into our standard assets folder in our project hierarchy down here. And yeah, there you have it. So now if we go down to characters, we have first person character, and under that we have prefabs and FPS controller, and we can just drag that straight into our scene where we want it, like this. And we can press play and take a look at what it looks like in the game view. And then press escape, get out of here. View, and there we go. We even have sound effects and everything. Now we can walk around, take a look at everything. So the first thing I wanted to point out is on our grass that we put in our last scene, we see we have wind setting actually, and so I want to take a look at that, how we can change that, modify it, make it look at the way we want it. So if we go to our terrain, we go down to the details tab. And actually we need to go into the settings tab. So we can go into, also by the way, I forgot to point out in the last video, we have rocks and flowers and all this crazy stuff we can put in with our details. If we wanted to put in some flowers actually, we could go into, so I still have all these environment stuff, or environment assets that we can put in. So let's say we want to put in some white flowers. Can edit details, add grass texture, and then we can put in white, and the white flowers is a billboard texture as well. So let's go to white, spell it right, put in white flowers, and add it in. And we can go to our details, white flowers, paint some flowers in. It'll look quite pretty. The same with the grass. And then if we press play, we go in and it'll look quite nice. And they're affected the same way as the grass is by wind. So yeah, so you can do the same thing with rocks. We won't go over that because rocks actually I prefer to place individually because they get painted weirdly, and we don't want them to be affected by stuff like the wind and stuff. So in our settings, we can actually go to our wind settings for grass, and we can increase, decrease the speed. So actually, let's press play. We'll just take a look at this from our scene point of view. So there's that guy. Look at this in our scene. We can change settings while we're in play mode, which is a great feature. Increase the speed of the wind. Now I can see it's being, each time the wind is hitting, it's really blasting the flowers off to the side. We can decrease the speed of the wind. This get more of a nice gentle effect, subtle gentle effect. Yeah, I actually kind of like. Yeah, we can decrease the size, so each each gust will have less of an effect. And we can increase the amount that they actually bend. Yeah. say if we want our speed to be greater, our bend to be less, make it more of a or a prairie type style. Yeah. So I'm gonna balance these all out a little bit again. Make them look nice. You can also change the grass tint so they're kind of tinted based on the weather. So we can say, you know, if it's a fall setting, we can make it kind of more of a brownish tint to it, like that. We can also do lots of cool stuff with that. And yeah, so oh, it looks nice actually. That looks really nice. We're gonna exit out of play mode. It saves all that for us, which is great. And let's see. So next up, we're actually gonna go over how to kind of affect the mood of the whole setting. So we are going to look at our camera, and our camera on our first-person controller is actually going to be in its child's first-person character. We have this camera component here. So we have a couple different settings we can do for how it flags the background. The background can either be a skybox, solid color, or depth only. So we're just going to go over the skybox and solid color. So skybox is, well, solid color is pretty obvious. Solid color is just this. It's a single color that is displayed over it. So yeah. So we can change that. We can go to here. We can change our color so it's a nice purple. It's going to display it in the background of our game like this. And we can look around, and our background is going to be purple. You probably don't want it in our game. But, you know, just in case you do. Press escape, get out of there. And yeah, you can also grab the pin dropper, sample from somewhere in our scene. So if I want it to be a nice blue color, make it like that. Yeah, so I mean, solid color is a very dull single color, so we probably don't want it to be a solid color. So we are going to change it to what's called a skybox. Skyboxes are a little hard to explain, but one of the coolest features of Unity, in my opinion. A skybox is essentially a cube that is continuous wherever it goes from one face to the next. So if we look, so what we can do is, yeah, if we want to grab a skybox, what we can actually do, so we can go to our, the store, wherever the asset store, and we can search for some free skyboxes that we can download. So let's say there's one. It's called a 10 skybox pack. Let's put that in. We have a bunch of skyboxes in here. So we can click on this, import it into our project, download, and it's going to give us some import settings that we get if we import stuff from the default Unity stuff. And yeah, so we're going to import all of that. So it's going to import a bunch of materials for our skyboxes. So the materials are, if you have, they are rendered on the inside of a cube map. And where is it? Oh, here we go. Day-night skyboxes, materials. So here we go. So they're rendered on the inside of a cube map with 6 faces, and they're continuous. So if you looked at them from the point of view of the inside of a cube map, they would be completely continuous, and there would be no distinction between the edges for them. And so that basically gives us the illusion of a sky where it is, no matter how close we get to it, it is the last thing that is always rendered, and so it never moves, and never gets closer, never gets farther away, which is great. And so we can throw one of these skyboxes on now. So to do that, we go to our window and lighting, which is actually over here already. So I'm just going to click on that, and we can, in here we have our skybox material. We can click on that and go here, and we have a bunch of different skybox or materials we can put on. We want to make sure, so this is all our materials in our project, so we want to make sure that we find ones that we want. So here we have a list of all our skyboxes that came with that pack. So I can look at them, take a look at what they all look like before I put them on. Sky cloudy, early dusk, halo, midnight, morning. This one looks really cool. So I'm actually going to put afternoon. That one looks nice. So in lighting, we're going to go ahead and type in sky, afternoon, enter that, and there we go. We have our skybox. Now we hit play and take a look at what that looks like. It's a nice skybox. Very cloudy, and yeah. So some other things we can do in the lighting. We can actually set our fog. We can actually set a fog setting. So this will, if we check fog, wait for it to render. So this is actually going to put fog in our scene. And the way the fog works is it renders on the geometry of the scene, which is all the objects and in the scene, not the background. So not the skybox, not the lighting, whatever. And so it renders based on how far the camera is from those objects. So here we have some mode settings. So here, and we have linear, exponential, and exponential squared. Linear is just a direct how far away you are from objects. So we'll determine how dense the fog is. Most real-world fog would want to be computed using exponential. So it exponentially increases fog based on distance. So yeah. So if you look at that, you can see the closer you get to objects, the clearer they get. So we want to get closer to these mountains over here. They're going to start clearing up for us. Over here in the distance, those mountains are pretty foggy. These trees probably need to be a little bit bigger to be realistic. Oh, and the trunks are green. Oh, I changed the material color, that's why. Well, too late now. You guys can fix that on your own. There's a little mini project. Yeah. That's how the fog works. So we can, so the fog, let's see. Bring it down. Come down. There we go. So the fog, there we go. So you can see it gets clearer as you get closer to it, and much more foggier as you get farther away. We can increase the density factor, and this factor needs to be really small. Every single little part little point affects it a ton. So if we make this 0.2, it's going to get way more foggy. 0.3, way foggier, almost to the point where it's impossible to see it. So this is like almost a really dark scene. Yeah. Take a look at that. And the fog is going to stay there for a lot longer as we move closer towards it. That's if you want a really dark scene. And as you can see, the skybox doesn't really fit the fog. It kind of, if you look at the horizon line, it's it's light and too happy for this kind of scene. So what we could do to fix that is we could go onto our camera, which is on our FPS controller, on the character, and we can go into inspector so we can look at it. We can change it from a skybox to a solid color, and then we can make that solid background color here, so we can look at our camera preview. We can make it the color of our fog. So to do that, we can take our pin dropper, bring it over to our scene where we have a little sample of our fog on the distant mountains over here. Click on that, and there we go. Now we have our background, the color of the fog. Now if we press play, we can look at this in our camera, or in our game view, and it is dark everywhere. The background is foggy, and we have the illusion of fog everywhere, not just on our geometry, which is great for very realistic and dreary game effects. You can run around, and you can't see anything off in the distance. Jump over this stuff. Oh no. Crazy realistic jumping. Yeah. If you want to make some sort of zombie apocalypse game like this, that's the way to go. Press escape. Out of here. And yeah. And one other thing to kind of work on the feel of this game, make this the feel of this game a little bit more realistic. If we want to make the feel of this game a little bit more realistic, we can go to our lighting on our camera. Maybe it's on the light itself. So we have our, we have our sun, which is our, we have our directional light, which is essentially our sun. Could try turning that off, turn off the lighting effects, but we probably want that on. Instead, we could actually just change the intensity to maybe like 0.5, like that. That way, it won't shine as much on these objects. And we want them to look really dreary. So maybe something like that. We want to make them look really dark and dreary because that's what our game looks like with this fog in here. No, they're really dark and dreary. So now we want to go back to this. Our game is really depressing. We have some wind. We have some depressing fog. To complete the effect, we could also use our pin dropper to change the effect on our water, actually. So we could go to our water. Let's see, so we could go to water, basic, daytime, and our horizon color. We could change that to the color of our fog too, or something close to it, like this. There you go. Now our water is nice and dreary too. Press play. Take a look at just how dreary our water is. Drag this up. That is depressing water. But it's realistic for a scene that's a little bit darker. And then if we want to make a much more happy scene, like something like Zelda or something like that, we can, you have to work on all the aspects of it. We'd have to turn some of the materials down, or up on this grass. Make the water a little bit brighter. Maybe have a skybox, or have the skybox a much brighter color, or the direct lighting a much brighter color. But yeah, like that. So now we're actually going to go over how we can put in clouds. So on the asset store, we have this really cool cloud system. So I'm going to put back our skybox on our camera. So sky, where are you? Spectre. Skybox. There you go. And I'm going to decrease our fog by just a bit. Maybe like 1. Just a little bit of fog. Alright, looks pretty good. And yeah, so now we can put in some clouds. So we're going to go back to the asset store and type in cloud, not all caps, clouds toy, and we have this guy, which is a great little toy that actually creates volumetric lighting for us. So go ahead and import that into the project. Cool stuff. Don't need these scripts. They're just gonna mess us up. Don't need return assets. I don't know why I tried to re-import all this stuff. I want that. Okay. Effects. We want the effects. We do not want the standard assets again. Alright, import that all in. So the clouds toy actually creates hundreds and hundreds of textured billboards and to create kind of a fake volumetric lighting effect. So volumetric lighting is essentially, say if you create say if I create a cube, for example, and I have that in my scene, I take off the actual mesh render, I'm have an outline of it. Make it a little bit bigger. Volumetric lighting is lighting in which it lights the object based on its distance from the outside of the object. So as it gets closer to the sides, and here the lighting is either going to get more intense, or exponentially more intense, or exponentially denser or dimmer. So clouds use that kind of effect, and the clouds toy here that I imported actually kind of fakes that effect. So by creating tons and tons of different billboards and then having them kind of bloom outwards. So we're gonna find the prefab for it. Clouds toy manager. That sounds about right. Put it in our project, and let's take a look at what this actually gives us. So there you go. So this Clouds Toy Manager actually gives us a huge box, two huge boxes. Oops. Where's our actual terrain? There it is. Okay. So first off, we want to move these boxes so that they're centered over our terrain like this. Like that. Should be good. And so basically what's going to happen is clouds are going to be created on the edge of, they're going to be created on the edge of this yellow box, and they're going to render inside the blue box, and they're going to float across, and then they're going to be destroyed when they exit the yellow box again. And yeah, so we can take a look at how that's going to look in our scene. Maybe disable the fog so it doesn't mess with it too much. So take a look at how this looks in our scene. So this spawned a ton of clouds overhead. They're quite nice. And you can see they float across the scene. And they're pretty high up there right now. So let's try maybe decreasing the height on this. A bit lower. Maybe. So now we have clouds actually going through our mountains, which you probably don't want. You want them right about here. That's pretty nice. And we can also go inside our clouds toy, and we can mess with a bunch of some of presets. So we can make it like a fantasy type thing. Ooh, that looks a little off. So you can see this actually create and spawns tons and tons of these giant cloud particle render and particle systems. So let's change this back to sunrise. Let's change this to sunrise. Let's watch it. So this creates a very bright sunrisey effect on the clouds. Let's change it to stormy. This seems to be the most realistic effect we can get with it. And yeah. So that looks pretty nice. Let's move this down. When we're in game mode, the transforms don't actually change with it. There we go. That looks pretty nice. So we can also mess with the speed a little bit. So we can go to our, can increase the number of clouds like this. Have tons and tons of different clouds in there. We can cloud creation size, maximum velocity. We can increase our velocity multiplier to make them move faster across our scene. So now they're moving pretty fast. It's pretty nice. We have a nice foggy effect too because they're moving through the mountains. And it looks really nice with our skybox up there. On top of that, so we can also have a bunch of different cloud types, so we can make it not bright, more realistic. Say mixed Cirrus. Those are cool clouds. Nimbus 3. And we can increase the number of clouds again. Yeah. So we have tons of different options we can play with. Make it look very cool. And yeah. Yeah, so we also have stuff like where we can change the mist color of the cloud. So we could say we want the main color to be like a green type color. We'll make a green type misty effect. It looks pretty cool. We can have maybe like an orangish, like that. That looks pretty cool with the sky up above. Some sort of environment disaster scene. Increase the number of clouds there too. Looks really nice. And yeah, I think that's it for clouds. And so next up, we can go over particle systems. So particle systems are essentially, so these clouds are this cloud system is creating a bunch of particle systems, but we're going to create a snow system now. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to right click and create a particle system. Particle systems are really fun to create. So I'm going to rename this snow. Just click on it, enter snow, and here you go. So we have a bunch of different options. So we have particle system component, and this has, so if we look at this, let's bring the snow over here actually. There you are. No, it wasn't in here. Come over here. Come over here. So if we look at our snow, it is, or our particle system, this is actually, so we have an emitter that is emitting particles at a certain rate in random directions, sort of. And it's emitting a certain number of particles over a lifetime. It has a bunch of different properties that we can change to create stuff that we want. So the particle effects can be used to create, rain, smoke, snow, fire, basically anything that is going to be emitting something over a period of time, and you want to give it some sort of random effect that looks cool. You can also create like dust storms, all that cool stuff. So we're going to create snow in this case. So we have a bunch of different options we can change. We have the duration. We can change that, and this is going to, if we look at the duration, this is going to change how long each particle lives, or the particle system itself lives for. So we have looping. If we uncheck this, we're going to see that the particle system isn't going to loop. So it's going to emit, this is going to emit however many particles are in the particle system in one giant thing, which is, in this case, 1,000. Say if we want to change this down to like 8. Simulate that. It's going to emit 8 particles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right there. And it's going to stop. Okay? So that's if it's not looping. And it's going to go over a duration of 9 seconds. Okay? Say if we want to emit them over a duration of 0.1 seconds. It should go really fast. Or it just won't emit them because it doesn't have enough time. And also, oh yeah, okay, so it also has a rate that it that it emits them at. And yeah, so it's going to change this back to its default of 5. Turn it back to looping, so that way it's going to loop 8 particles over 5 seconds over and over again. Let's look at it. So it emits 8 particles, and then it's going to wait 5 seconds. It's going to emit 8 particles again, or it's going to go over the full 5 seconds. So it's not going to emit the 8 particles again until it ends. Okay. So yeah. So say if we want it to be emitting particles over the full 5 seconds, then we probably want to increase this a little bit. It's still not able to emit, to constantly emit them, so we might want to increase it a little bit. There we go. Now it's able to constantly emit them over the full 5-second duration of each loop. Okay. What we can also do is we can press pre-warm. This is going to cause it to automatically fill with particles before the system actually starts. So that way, as soon as you start your game, it will automatically, the particle system will already be working. Otherwise, if you don't pre-warm it, you're going to have this effect. It's going to start emitting particles when the game starts, so they might not already be up in the air doing whatever you want them to be doing. So, for our snow, we probably want to pre-warm it. And then, we also have the start lifetime. The lifetime is how long the particles actually last for. We're going to increase that, and then they're going to last a lot longer. But if you look, say if we decrease this, it's also going to leave a much larger gap here, depending on how much our max particles are. If we loop it, because the lifetime is now almost 10 seconds, and yeah, and the max particles are enough to actually to fill up, because we're only allowed to have max 5 particles per loop now again. So you can play with these settings to do some pretty cool stuff. And yeah, so we could also have this speed up a little bit, probably. So let's go ahead and fill up our system a little bit more. Particles, and have a lifetime of maybe 9.8, maybe 5 again. We can also do some other cool stuff. So we also have velocity overlapped over lifetime shape. We can create, and we can. So here's the actual emitter shape. So here's a cone. So all the particles are going to be going on this cone shape. We could have a box. Have a circle. It's going to emit outwards in a circle. We have an edge like that. For our snow, actually, we probably want a box like this. We're going to probably want it a little bit bigger, so increase the size. Actually, I want it big in that direction. We want a big X and Y directions. Well, that's making our particles really weird. I made a mistake. So we actually need to be moving it the box Y like that, the box X and the box Y like that. So that's going to make it much bigger. And we can actually rotate it. If we want it to be down. In this inspector, let's actually go to our X. Make that maybe 90. There we go. So now it's facing straight down. It's emitting particles down. And we have the beginning of our snow. And let's increase the X and Y a little bit more. It's going to make our emitter much larger. It's going to emit them over a much larger area. And they emit in random areas in the system, which is great. Let's actually move this since it's over near our player. And look at how that's affecting our player. So actually, to do that, what we can do is we can make it where's our face controller right there? Snow, make it a child of it, and then change its transform to that, change its X rotation back to 90, and then move it back up again. There we go. So there, I just made it a child of our player. So that way it is actually its origin is on the player, and then we can just reset its transform, which is gonna make it so that it's back at the player's position. So now, let's see, where's our player at? Playing our game. Let me see. Actually, where's our particle system? So it looks like the player is just missing the snow because its lifetime is the snow's lifetime is just about too little for it to actually hit the ground. So let's try increasing the lifetime a little bit. There we go. So now we can actually see some snow particles hitting the ground in front of the player. So it looks pretty nice. We have snow, and then maybe we can actually increase this size a little bit. So we can, let's see, increase it that way, a bit, increase it that way. So this should actually, since it's attached to the player as its child, it should actually follow the player around. So that way we don't have to expand this out so it covers the entire map, because that would be emitting a lot of particles, and that would lag up our game quite a bit. So having it follow the player is a little bit more of an efficient way to do this. So let's bump up the particles so that the particle max number of particles, so that we can get tons and tons of particles, snow coming down, like 5,000. And take a look below our. Take a look below our map to make sure none of them. So a lot of them are falling through, but yeah, it looks just about perfect. So they're not falling through too much. If we increase the lifetime too much, they would start falling through and we'd have a lot of waste going on there. So we probably want this to be right about there. Falling through, but and then dying down there somewhere. And yeah, I'm gonna increase the size of this just a little bit, so it looks like it's falling off in the distance. Oh no, we don't want to do it like that. And then let's ramp up our particles to 10,000 because it's still emitting the same number of particles over the whole thing. And let's make our speed a little bit more. So start speed 30, something like that. It's a little bit more realistic. And say we could give them a nice little tinge, random between two colors, something like that. This is going to make all the particles random colors between white and red. We can give them, so that will give them a nice, some of them a nice little red tinge, which might look kind of cool in our game if we want it like that. We do tons of cool stuff like that. Make it so they're affected by gravity. Have a curve like this. We can. What if we increase the duration? No, we don't want to do that. We probably want to ramp up our particles more because it still doesn't look very thick. So maybe say 20,000. This is, and then we want to ramp up our emission speed, wherever that is. Here we go, emission rate over time. So maybe 20 per second, something like that. Maybe let's make like 60 seconds. There we go. A decent number of particles falling now. Let's try 100. Okay, 200. 300. It's a lot. Maybe we can decrease our maybe we can decrease our speed a little bit. Simulation, no, our simulation speed, or start speed. We can make our speed something random like this. We could do random between two curves. No, it's random between two constants. So we can make our speed something random between like 10 and 30. So that way our particles are falling at different speeds, or it looks like they're falling at different speeds. Which looks cool. So you can maybe make it like between 5 and 40, so the difference is a little bit more obvious. Yeah, so we have some particles that are falling really slowly, some are falling really fast. Maybe make this a little bit more subtle of a color. There you go. Below the red sky. And yeah, there's tons of different things we can change for this. Rate over distance. We could do velocity over lifetime changes. Make it change, so it gets faster over the lifetime or something. Yeah. Make them so they have trails. Oops. Where are they? Trails. Where'd that go? Oh, there we go. Whoops. We don't want that. Looks kind of weird. Texture mode, stretch. Yeah, let's not have trails on. Yeah, that's our particle system. We can make that so they're affected by wind, I think. Let's see, emission, radar distance, list is empty, velocity over lifetime, force over lifetime, size, rotation, external forces. You scale the first part of this particle system. Controls the wind zones that each particle is affected by. So we can maybe make the wind affected by, or the particles affected by wind by like 5. And they should be moving to the side slightly. And make it something like 20. And when external, okay, I don't think this actually is affected by wind. Actually, we could do velocity over lifetime, and then yeah, modify it by the x. So the x direction is this direction or this direction. Then we can modify the z direction by a little bit. So maybe like random between 2 constants. You could do random between 2 and 30, something like that. That would look kind of cool. Now, there's snow again. No, they should. Some of them should be falling. Oops. Backwards, huh? Maybe let's maybe make it like velocity over lifetime. Instead of that, let's maybe make it a constant. Maybe make it instead of the z on the z-axis, let's try the x-axis. Maybe make it like 10. There we go. Now it's falling with kind of a curve on the x-axis, so it's over the lifetime it's increasing by 10. Looks pretty nice. Let's take a look at that in our scene. We have the clouds overhead. Looks pretty nice. Let's put our fog back in. So let's maybe actually let's go to our clouds toy. Move it down a little bit. Try playing that now. Our clouds are down here. Let's maybe make it a little foggy. So let's put in our fog. Make that like 0.02. And let's put in instead of our skybox, let's make that a solid color like we did earlier. So let's say solid color, and then let's make that nice gray. It's really dreary, and we have snow and everything. There you go. It's a pretty cool effect. And our snow is going to be falling constantly around us because because the particle system is following us. And yeah. So there we have it. We have snow, we have fog, we have clouds that we actually can't really see right now. That's cool anyways. Yeah. Alright, so thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.